animals in the house. There was a dog in there. There was a cat in there.
What's your question? It sounds like you're stating facts and arguing. What's your
She
question?
took my mail.
Is Don Bauer on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I can see you, Mr. Bauer. Welcome to you. Then I'll
Thank
ask
you, Your Honor.
Cynthia Harrell, are you on the line today?
Yes, I am.
Okay, welcome to you, Ms. Harrell. And I think Molly Harrell was also a named defendant. Is Molly Harrell on the line today?
No, she's not. She's diagnosed with schizophrenia. She won't step out of the house. She has lots of issues.
Understood. Thank you. All right, we're here on a motion to show cause why a writ of restitution restoring the premises to Mr. Bauer should not be issued. It looks like the allegations are of non-payment of rent for a good portion of 2023 and all of 2024 up through and including May of this year. I understand that there was a fire and there's damage caused to the home and it's been deemed uninhabitable. There's water and electricity. I guess the meter's been removed and that there's an allegation that rooms are being rented out and where Ms. Harrell's receiving income. Those are the allegations that have been presented by Mr. Bauer. And it looks like there was a pre-eviction notice that was sent in September of 2023. And it looks like there was a proper service of the show cause order today. And that's why Ms. Harrell's here today. So I'll hear from you, Mr. Bauer, if you have any additional items beyond those highlights or your general argument.
I think those are accurate, and I'm concerned about the rent. There are other issues that I could put in an array, but I won't mention them unless I'm called to do so.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Harrell, I've made aware of what Mr. Bauer's position is. I'm interested in learning what your position is, please.
My position is I have pictures that I would like to present to you because this goes way back in December of 2022. My house flooded. It had to be swamp pumped. Gentleman, Andy, came into my home. He lived in my home for 6 months. I lived outside of my home with staying from bed to bed, couch to couch, whatever. I paid for a month of a motel. He paid for 3 days, the last 3 days. And then I still had no place to go. So I stayed with here and there, so that they could finish my home. It still is not finished. They never finished everything on it. There's holes in the wall, air coming through the bottom of the house, making it cold during the wintertime. And also, I found out in all of this that I have been paying the electricity and the water for this building that I have nothing to do with for 8 years. Okay.
Which building is that?
Rent.
Which building is that?
I live in the front home. I have pictures. This is the building right here in the middle of our property. And then there's a trailer home in the back where Larry Stalker, who presented me with the papers, and he is not biased, they live in the back house. Okay. This building right here, I have nothing to do with, but I've been paying the rent, the electricity bill, and the water bill on it the whole time I've lived in the home. Okay. Because the breaker box is in my house, and that's why I didn't pay the rent. I've been paying that for 8 years, and I want to be compensated. And I tried talking to him about it, and they all walked away from me. And Julie, Larry's wife, looked up at me and said she doesn't owe me a effing thing. So I shut the breakers off. That easy. They're not going to try to compensate me for anything while they use that building to work on his other rentals. I'm paying for him to make money.
So can I ask you a question, Ms. Harrell? You indicated that you talked about Larry and his wife. Is Larry and his wife, they're tenants there in the different building?
They became tenants there after the other people moved out.
Okay. All right.
In Yeah.
So okay, all right, I understand your position there. And then what's your position related to the allegation of non-payment of rent from June of and December of 2023 and January to May of 2024?
Same effect, that nobody would talk to me. Nobody would try to settle anything with me. And I'm not gonna hand him money when I've been being charged for something for 8 years that I don't have anything to do with, that they do all of their work out of.
Okay.
And the people that lived in the back before, they had 2 freezers in there, a refrigerator, 5 heaters, an electric blanket bed, a computer, a massage chair. I was paying for all of that. They have a toilet in there, a sink, everything. It was like a studio apartment.
When did you discover that you were paying for the electricity for the other family?
June of the same but right just before I paid the rent. And also, I handed Andy $900 cash when I got my unemployment check. He
Who's
told
Andy?
Don not accept that I didn't do that.
Who's Andy?
Andy is the worker for Don.
Okay. Did you ever
Supposedly,
give money to Mr. Bauer?
we were in the other house in the back so that the new tenants could move in. As at that moment, we did not know it was going to be Larry yet. Okay, and Larry's the one who told me about the breaker box. that's the funniest part of all of it.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to him that he would be living in it.
All right. And then when was the fire
The
or
fire,
damage to the home?
the fire was at the end of, it's July, right? May.
May of this year?
Yeah. And I haven't gotten paper from the fire department. I requested a statement from them about how it was. I was not in the home when the fire started.
Okay. What's your understanding as far as, has there been any formal designation by a government agency whether the home can be lived in, is inhabitable or not inhabitable?
Yes, he did come out there, and that's another thing. At the bottom of it, it states that once the house is done, I am able to return. Okay, but they're making it so they just want me out of there. And 3 days after the fire, Larry came to the front of my house and told my kids to stop cleaning it. He doesn't want them touching his property. And he looked up at my house up in the loft and said, "And Cynthia, pack your shit and get the hell out of my house and my property." How is it his property? He has no right to say that to me.
Right. It doesn't sound like Larry's a property owner, so
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you. He doesn't have any grounds to do that.
And
So
I'm just
did the
fine.
fire damage, was which governmental agency said that it's not inhabitable?
The county clerk, the county down in Woodland. A gentleman showed up there, and at the time when they did it, Andy attacked my son. We didn't file any charges, but he tried pressing charges against my son when he's the one who came out and attacked him. We
The
were just,
government agent?
you know,
Was it the government agent you're talking about?
no, Andy is his worker, but the government agent was there. Also, they didn't give
Okay.
me any notice for that gentleman showing up. They just showed up at my house and started tearing the wood off the windows that were blown out.
Okay. All right. And
No
then
24-hour notice, no nothing.
and so the house has been deemed uninhabitable.
Yep.
Are you still living in the home?
No, I am not. I'm living in my car
Okay.
with my daughter.
And what's your response to Mr. Bauer's allegation that there's other people living in the home or at least had
There's
been
nobody
living in the
living in the.
home and rent? And so I'll go ahead and finish my question.
I'm
So
sorry.
what's your response to the allegation that you're renting rooms out to other individuals or were before the fire?
No, I was not. I have not received a penny from anybody.
Okay. All right. Have there been other people that you've allowed to live in the home?
No, they stayed for a night or so and then they had to go because you're only allowed to have up rent or whatever for a certain amount of time. And I wasn't even paying attention to that. And the thing is my heart's been broken. Okay. I trusted in Don. He was my mentor. I looked up to him, and I can't believe he's doing this to me. I have never missed any rent the whole time I've been there, all through everything. COVID, when that, my heart is hurt because I looked up to him.
Can I ask you a question, Miss Harrell? You'd indicated that you'd lived there for a long time and you never missed a payment, and then you found out about the thing with Larry and the electricity. Why did you not continue to pay rent and then try to work on a resolution of maybe the past electricity?
Because nobody would talk to me.
Okay.
I confronted all of them, Don, Larry, Andy, and Larry's wife, and they just turned around and walked away from me. And that's when Julie looked up at me and said she didn't know me a effing thing.
And that Julie is Larry's wife or partner?
Yeah, walked out of the shop, and I have not been back since. I have nothing to say to them.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that input. Ms. Harrell, do you have any other information you'd like to share?
Well, they said that it was a candle that started the fire. The sheriff or the fire department guy, he handed to me what he thought was a candle. It wasn't a candle. It was Downy softener. If he would have turned it over, yes, it did look like a decorative candle after it got melted. Okay, and I held on to it. I have it in a box. There was no candle in the house. I never found a candle. All I found was the Downy softener packet. And also where the fire actually started is where Andy was messing with the electrical when he was fixing my house, okay, the first time. And it's right in front of the heater. He took out all of the heater wall, all of the internet, all the way around the kitchen because he didn't hook the electrical up. He doesn't have an electrical license. He shouldn't have been touching anything. I watched him fly across the room because he didn't turn the breaker off to cut a wire on a heater in a room. Okay, he shouldn't be allowed to touch a house.
Okay.
It was pretty funny.
Thank you, Ms. Harrell. Thank you for your input. Mr. Bauer, anything in response?
Yes, a number of things I would challenge that she has stated in terms of their accuracy. When she moved in, she paid her rent faithfully on a regular basis. We had a good relationship. Then Cynthia lost her job and she quit paying rent at the point that she lost her job. And I contacted her about rent and she says, don't worry about it. I have at least 4 ways to pay the rent. First of all, I'm going to be taking care of Molly and getting $31 an hour, and I should be able to pay the rent on that. And if that doesn't come through, I can get unemployment and pay the rent. And thirdly, I can get a job again. I've been offered guaranteed a job, so I'm going to go to another place and get a job. And fourthly, I have some gambling certificates from my father or grandfather that I think are valuable, and I can cash those in and pay you off. I arranged meetings with her. She also said that she had another way, a 5th way. She had CDs in the bank. And so I thought, well, my rent is secure. It's just a matter of her working it out on a timely basis. So I would set up appointments with her to collect the rent, and she would not show. She would not answer the door. She would not answer the telephone. And so on maybe 7 or 8 times, I failed to reach her, and I finally realized that she was probably trying to avoid me. And then with respect to the other items that she mentioned, she knew about the electrical very early, and she talked to the people in back. Cynthia at all times had the ability to flip her breaker and withdraw the power. The power department would not allow them to pay more than what the power company allowed. So the people in the back said, Cynthia, we'd like to make this right. Why don't you analyze your bills and we can see where there's any excess and we will make that right with it. She never provided those bills so that they could accurately pay her and not violate the public utility. I got a call from the water department. I got a call from the electrical department, and they said, Don, we have a tenant person over here that wants to do this or wants to do that. And I gave the water department and the electric department accurate information. She was engaging in duplicity with those departments to the point where they refused to offer her power and they refused to offer her water due to her duplicity. And so they took the water meter out. And then right after that, the fire occurred, and her son was upstairs with his girlfriend who was not on the rental agreement. And the fire started. He came down and he said a cat knocked over the candle. She was in violation of the rental agreement in terms of subletting, in terms of allowing animals in the house. There was a dog in there, there was a cat in there. The cat was not supposed to be in the house, it was an outside cat. Other ways, she did not keep up the yard. I mean, the garbage is stacked up outside the house, the lawn is not mowed. On and on, she has violated the rental agreement in addition to not paying rent, in addition to not communicating. Now, we tried to get in to, there was a fan in the living room that required, wouldn't work. So we were working on the electrical to get that going. And we called maybe 7 to 10 times to schedule it. We were not able to schedule my workman in to solve the problem. She was avoiding me, obviously.
Was inside the house. You could have knocked at any time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bauer. All right, so I appreciate the input of both parties and helping me have a clear idea of what's happened or is happening. So this is a 14-day notice to pay or vacate. It sounds like up until a period in the past, Ms. Harrell has been very, very faithful and diligent in making her rent payment. I think when it sounds like she was a bit disturbed when she found out about the electrical sharing issue with the other tenants, Larry and his wife, Julie, or partner, Julie. And that's when she started. So I'm in a process of giving my decision at this point. It's if I give any indication I'm asking for input, I'll make that explicit. At this point, I'm just giving you my ruling. So when that happened, she was concerned. That was back in June of 2023, according to Ms. Harrell. At that point, she stopped paying the rent. So the important part to remember with the Landlord-Tenant Act is that there's a duty and an obligation upon the tenant to pay rent. And if there's issues with the home of habitability or other issues, that duty to pay rent continues. And then there can be maybe potential offsets applied for maybe work done or repairing a situation. There's the landlord-tenant law doesn't allow a tenant to stop paying rent when there's a disagreement about maybe electricity being siphoned off to another party and them paying, well, for the tenant paying for those other folks. It sounds like there was some discussion related to the public utility district and the electricity, making maybe a division of that past electrical bills. It sounds like maybe that wasn't followed through on, so there was no finalization of that division of those payments. So when there's been that failure to pay rent, and although that there's been those issues about the electricity, that obligation to pay rent continues. It
Can I
doesn't.
please speak?
And so then there may be some other opportunities to work on other issues, but that obligation continues. There's not an exception in the law that says, hey, if there's a disagreement about the electrical bill, we get to stop fulfilling the obligations. So that's maybe kind of a long rambling way to say that I'm granting the motion for the issuance of the writ of restitution. That means the property and control and possession goes back to Mr. Bauer, and that
May I say
you'll
something,
need to
please?
exit. You'll need to, yeah, you can once I'm done speaking. Once the letters or the writ of restitution will be issued, and then once the sheriff, if you haven't moved out in a timely fashion, then the sheriff will be contacted, and then you'd need to be out, and they would make sure that you're out of the home. So, did you have a question, Ms. Harrell?
No, I don't have a question. I have been distraught since my house caught on fire. My stuff is still inside of the home. I have been moving everything myself and trying to take care of my daughter. I just would like more time to remove my stuff from the house. Okay, because all of this congestion and everything else is hindering me from getting my stuff out of the house. Okay, because they keep on coming at me every time I go over there. They would just leave me alone and let me get my stuff.
So, as a general rule,
Also,
once the writ of restitution has been issued, generally it's between 5 and 7 days before the sheriff will show up, and so there'll be some time there for allowing for the finishing up of moving.
also, hang on. I was told to get an attorney. They said that there would be a list of numbers on the back of the papers. There wasn't. I went to the Justice Department, Public Defender's Department. They gave me a phone number to go over to 1338 to another attorney's office. They gave me another, that's why I've been getting all phone numbers. They gave me another phone number and said if you had a problem, I haven't been able to get an attorney yet. I can't call until after the holiday.
So the difficulty, Ms.
I
Harrell,
would like
what you're saying, you're indicating that you wanted to have an attorney appointed to you. The difficulty with that is that we've gone through the entire process. I've made a ruling, and then I'm not saying that you did this, but it lends itself to an argument of gamesmanship in that the full hearing is had, everybody's had opportunity to say their piece, and then once there's a ruling that's adverse to a particular party, then they pull this card out and say, hey, I was really going to ask for an attorney and I wanted to continue this matter. I'm not going to change my decision. The writ of restitution.
Can you listen to one other thing?
And so then I'll ask Mr. Bauer, did you submit a proposed writ of restitution?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll get those, and then I'll sign off on those. Any final questions, Mr. Bauer?
No.
Ms. Harrell, any final questions?
Yeah, I do. A lot of
So
questions.
go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, the first papers that were served were not served properly. Larry's wife.
What's your question? What's your question? It sounds like you're stating facts and arguing. What's your question?
He took my mail. I have a witness across the street.
I'm not hearing a question at this point, Ms. Harrell. So this is an opportunity. If you had a question about the court's ruling or kind of next steps, I'd be happy to entertain those. So not hearing a question and asking you 3 times if you had any questions, and then just hearing facts and assertions. I think that concludes the hearing at this time. So I'll end the Zoom call at this time. Oh, Mr. Bauer, the clerk's indicating that she does not have a proposed order or a writ in this matter.
No, he's done nothing.
So you just have to double check with the clerk's office to make sure that they have that. And if they don't, you'd need to make sure that they have copies of that they could then be forwarded to the court to be signed.
And Larry should not
serve. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And then do you have a general time frame? Would you be looking at doing that today or maybe on Monday?
Let me see. Give me a couple days on that. Okay.
Okay.
I'm out of town right now, and so if I had a couple of days, I'd appreciate it. Monday, it'd be fine.
So so we'll look no later than Tuesday. Look for those documents.
I have too. I handed Andy $900 cash in July, at the end of July of 2023. I was helping clean the house in the back to, so that Larry could move in. Didn't know that it was going to be Larry, but Andy told Don was in the hospital because he got hit in the head by a TV. God only knows how that happened. Anyway, I gave $900 to Andy, and Sarah, the young lady who lives in the house in the back, was standing right there when I handed it to him, but he has told Don that I did not give him anything.
Okay. So accepting that as accurate and true, even though there may have been a cash payment in July of 2023, there's a variety of other months where there has not been rent paid. So
because
that
he owes
doesn't
me
alter,
so
that doesn't alter the court's earlier decision. So at this point, we're done with the hearing, and then we'll look forward to receiving that copies of those writs, and then we'll go from there.